I was on deployment in Kuwait, sweating through my undershirt under a plywood ceiling when Rowan's text lit up my phone. It was a photo of a storefront with polished black trim and a sign that said Ridge and Vine in gold script. Under it, he wrote, "Couldn't have done it without family." I stared at that name like it slapped me. Not because I cared about wine. Rowan was the one with the sommelier complex. I cared because that sign shouldn't have existed. The name that should have gone on a sign was Stone Hollow Lodge, and it should have been mine. That was what Grandpa Al told me, plain as daylight. He built half that lodge with his own hands, left it to me in his will. I'd flown back for 2 hard days after he died, made arrangements, kissed his forehead goodbye, and then I was gone again. Uncle Sam's call not optional. I kept telling myself the lodge was fine, safe, protected under the will. Then I saw that text and opened my laptop, balancing it on a footlocker between two bunkmates snoring through earplugs. I pulled up the county property records and just sat there. Grantor, Zachary J. Turner, via power of attorney. Grantee, the Barlows. Consideration, $600,000. There it was, like a punch behind the ribs. The signature was supposed to be mine, but the Z was wrong, curved instead of slashed. And the K didn't hook sharp like mine always did. Whoever faked it tried to copy me, but didn't know the muscle memory. I called Gordon, my stepfather, the guy who treated family like a management structure. He picked up like it was any regular Thursday. "Zach," he said, all calm, "it was a family decision. You'll thank me someday." That's when I knew. I didn't need to ask anything else. Then Mom, Laurel, got on. "Please don't make a scene from over there," she said, like I was asking about a missing sprinkler head, like none of it mattered. I hung up. Watched the tent flap shift in the air conditioning like the place was breathing wrong. My hands felt still but heavy, like they were waiting to do something. I opened my inbox and typed a name I hadn't thought about since training. Major Ezra Lyle. He'd once said, "If you ever need legal backup, I know someone who makes federal attorneys sweat." His reply came 6 hours later. "Taryn Keene, former JAG, real sharp." I created a folder on my laptop called Stone Hollow. Dropped in the will, the PDF from the county site, and Rowan's smug photo. I didn't reply to anyone. They mistook silence for surrender. It wasn't. It was step one. Before listening, share which city or country you're watching from, and let's continue. I kept staring at that folder on my laptop like it might blink first. Grandpa Al had quiet hands and carpenter's eyes. That's how I always described him. He built half of Stone Hollow himself, hauled beams up that ridge with a rusted pickup and stubborn pride. One night, sitting on the porch after we sanded the railings, he told me, "You kept me company when nobody else did." He didn't say it dramatic, just honest. When the will came, it was clean, direct, Stone Hollow Lodge to me. There was nothing vague about it. His neighbor, Inez Calloway, had been his shadow in the last few years. She checked on him, brought soup, argued politics over coffee. After I emailed her about the county record, she called me late her time, early mine. "He was clear, Zach," she said, her voice tight but steady. "He told me plain, it's for Zach, not the family pool." That landed heavy. Back home in Asheville, Gordon always ran the house like a bank branch. Spreadsheets, budgets, strategic decisions. My mother kept the peace by staying quiet. Rowan grew up soaking in that system, always trying to prove he deserved the top spot. He chased Gordon's approval like it was oxygen and called it family first, like that phrase fixed everything. When the funeral came around, Gordon told me, "It's better you focus on duty. We'll handle things here." I watched my grandfather's service on a shaky live stream at 0300, sitting on a folding chair while the Wi-Fi buffered his casket in frozen frames. I clenched my jaw through the whole thing. Weeks later, Inez mentioned something that made my pulse spike. "I drove past the Ridge Road," she said. "There was a for sale sign near the entrance." I felt my stomach drop straight through the floor. That night, inside the comms tent with generators humming in the background, I pulled the county records again. The transfer date read June 3rd, notarized by Gene Malvern. I knew that name, old banking buddy of Gordon's. They played golf together, swapped investment tips, called each other partner. The sale price was $600,000. That lined up exactly with what starter lodges in the Blue Ridge were pulling. It was too clean, too polished. The signature almost looked like mine. Almost. But if you knew my hand, you saw the lie. I called Gordon again, this time not bothering with small talk. You weren't here to manage assets, he said, his voice clipped. Decisions had to be made. I gripped the phone harder. You don't get to sign my name. You're being dramatic, he answered. We protected value. Protected. Like I was a broken tool sitting on a shelf. After that call, Inez told me something else. Grandpa had tried twice to get a code to me, a number and a phrase. He'd written them down and asked Laurel and Gordon to pass them along. They said they would, she told me. He reminded them again later. I never got anything. Those slips never reached me because someone intercepted them. That wasn't an accident. I pulled Malvern's notary commission number from the document and searched prior filings. There it was. His stamp on old refinance paperwork for Gordon years back. Same circle seal. Same handwriting pressure. Sitting there with sweat rolling down my back and dust in the air. I mapped it out in my head like a mission brief. Will. Intercepted notes. Forged power of attorney. Sale. Rowan's ribbon cutting. The line ran straight as a rifle barrel. I opened a new tab and started documenting every link, every name, every date, and every dollar, building the case piece by piece. I didn't wait around after building that timeline. I emailed Major Lyle back and told him I needed that contact now, not someday. He set up a video call 2 nights later. The connection flickered at first, then steadied, and Taryn Keene filled the screen. She looked like someone who didn't waste time, mid-40s maybe, dark hair pulled back tight, calm eyes, no small talk. Major Lyle gave a short intro and signed off. Taryn leaned closer to the camera. Start from the document you believe is forged, she said. Then tell me where you were on that date. Then tell me who benefits. 3 questions. Clean. Direct. I answered all 3, and then some. I explained the will, the deployment orders, the notarized power of attorney that wasn't mine, the $600,000 sale, and my brother's brand new wine shop with a gold letter sign. She wrote while I talked. I could hear the scratch of her pen even through the cheap headset. When I finished, she looked up and said, "You've got a case." That sentence hit different than anything else I'd heard in weeks. She knew the Service Members Civil Relief Act cold. It won't carry your civil claim by itself, she said. But judges do not like the optics of a deployed service member getting targeted. Context matters. Then she got sharper. Do not contact your family again, not by text, not by call, not through a cousin. Every word becomes evidence. That won't be a problem, I told her. I sent her everything through a secure link she created that same night. The will, the county assessor page, the forged power of attorney, Rowan's signed photo with that smug caption about family. She scanned fast. Gene Malvern? She asked less than a minute in. He tied to Gordon? Yes, I said. Old banking buddy. Years back, he notarized refinance papers for him. She let out a slow breath. That's useful. Useful meant bad for them. She told me she'd line up a forensic document examiner who specialized in signature analysis. I'll need clean exemplars, she said. Multiple sources, multiple years. I dug through my digital files and pulled real signatures from military evaluation forms, tax returns, housing paperwork, anything official. I scanned them at high resolution so nobody could argue blur or distortion. Taryn wasn't done. Second angle, she said. Follow the money. If 600,000 moved, it landed somewhere. Lease deposits, signage, wine inventory. We tie those expenses to that influx. That part I understood. Money leaves footprints. I built out my spreadsheet deeper. Funeral date, notarization date, sale date, deposit date, Rowan's announced grand opening date. I laid it all against my deployment orders so it showed I was nowhere near a notary office in North Carolina when that document supposedly got signed. Every night, I downloaded voicemails from my mother. They shifted in tone, first worry, then guilt, then anger. I labeled each file with date and timestamp. Gordon sent one clipped text. Act like a man. I saved that too. Screenshots piled up. I converted each one to PDF, numbered them in order, and uploaded them through Taryn's secure share. I treated it like building a case file overseas, methodical, no emotion in the paperwork, even if my blood was hot. Meanwhile, Taryn pulled public posts from Ridge and Vine. Rowan had given a little press quote to a local lifestyle blog. He used words like family funded and legacy project. I read that sentence twice and felt my jaw tighten. That language helps us, she said. It ties him directly to the source narrative. Before we ended the call, she looked straight at me. This is forgery and conversion, she said. If Malvern flips, we'll have the spine of your case. I closed the laptop after that and sat in the dim tent light, letting the hum of generators fill the space while I drafted the next document for her file. I didn't answer a single call, but Mom's voicemails kept stacking up. Some soft, just checking if you're safe. Some sharp, don't you dare ruin your brother's life over this. I saved everyone, labeled and time-stamped. Then Rowan texted me a photo like nothing had happened. It was the inside of Ridge and Vine, glass display cases, pendant lights, rows of burgundy stacked like trophies. Under it he wrote, "Grand opening next month, you should come by." Like I was just a guy on the invite list. He posted the same shot publicly a few days later. Caption, "Our whole family made this happen. Tag the shop, #legacy." I screenshotted it and grabbed the timestamp, then pulled the comment section before it filled up with early fans and backpats. People loved a good family business story. They had no clue. Taryn came back a few days later with a match. "The storefront expenses," she said, "were paid from an account funded within 48 hours of the lodge closing." She read off the routing number. "Belongs to Rowan. Personal checking." She didn't need to explain what that meant. The ink wasn't dry on the deed, and my brother was already spending the profit. She also dug up something uglier. Gordon had pulled a short-term portfolio credit about 3 weeks before the sale. Bank language described it as secured against anticipated control of property, which Taryn translated fast. He took out a line of credit, she said, based on an asset he didn't legally own yet. Bet the farm with your title. That clicked something deep in my gut, like I'd been gutted with a polite handshake. Then a thick envelope showed up from Inez, postmarked Asheville. I slid it open on my bunk and pulled out 2 scanned slips, both in Grandpa's handwriting. One read, 09152012, Beam. The other just said, workshop wall. I didn't even blink. September 15th, 2012, Grandpa and I had rebuilt the back half of the workshop together. I remembered the sweat, the sawdust, the nail he bent on purpose so I could fix it. We burned the date into a support beam behind the pegboard. That was the code he wanted passed to me, the code he trusted Gordon and Laurel to deliver. And they didn't. They buried it. I didn't call, didn't yell. I did the opposite. I went quieter. I kept collecting. Silence messed with them more than noise ever could. That week, Gordon finally cracked and sent one text. "Your duty is to support the household." I screenshotted it and forwarded it to Taryn with one word. Noted. Meanwhile, Major Lyle put me in touch with an investigator from the district attorney's office, someone he trusted from a past joint task force. We had a 15-minute call. No names, no promises. I didn't ask about charges, just the process. "How does referral happen?" I asked. "What triggers criminal?" "What's the line?" He explained the timeline, jurisdiction, who could initiate and when. That was all I wanted. I relayed the whole call back to Taryn. She responded fast. "We file civil. DA decides criminal. Stay off their radar except through me." That meant no leaks, no tipping hands. I stuck to the script. My days were split in 2, mission work on base, then paper trail duty in the bunk. I averaged 4 hours of sleep a night max. Every document had to be airtight. I ran backups to cloud storage, thumb drives, and one offline hard copy just in case. My hands never shook, but they stayed clenched. Inez mailed me a follow-up note with an underlined line in Grandpa's handwriting. "If they go around you, go through them." I folded it and slipped it into my wallet behind my military ID. It stayed there. Every night before I powered down, I opened the case folder again. Then I added one more file. I flew into Raleigh and drove straight to the apartment I'd kept near base. Ground floor, beige walls, cheap rent, perfect for staying off the radar. I didn't swing by the old house. I didn't call anyone. I walked in, locked the deadbolt, and dropped my bag by the door. I was gone an hour tops. Shower, sandwich, change of clothes, and when I came back, the smell hit me first. Garlic, basil, something in the oven. Gordon was sitting on my couch like it belonged to him. Laurel was in the kitchen, unpacking groceries. Rowan stood by the window, pretending to scroll his phone. They didn't knock. They didn't call. They used the emergency key I'd given Mom before deployment. "We made dinner," she said, like that settled it. I didn't raise my voice. I walked to the door, unlocked it, and held it open. "Get out." Gordon didn't move. He leaned back, like this was a conference room, and said, "This doesn't need to escalate. We're still family." I stared straight at him. "You'll lose your family if you do this," he added. "I lost it when you signed my name," I said. Rowan looked up, tried a grin, like we could joke our way through grand theft and fraud. It vanished fast. Laurel's eyes welled up. "Zach, you're being cruel." "You broke in," I said. "I'll get the key back another way." They shuffled out, slow and reluctant. I watched them go, then called a locksmith before the door even clicked shut behind them. He came within the hour and changed both locks. I handed him a tip and asked for an extra copy. I didn't leave a spare with anyone. Next morning, I met Taryn face to face for the first time. She slid a manila folder across the diner table. Standard issue, no drama. "Draft complaint, ready for your review." I flipped it open. Everything was there: fraud, conversion, breach of fiduciary duty, the will, the forged POA, the timelines, the money trail. She also passed me a single-page memo with a paperclip holding it to a yellow sticky note. "Unconfirmed, but from a solid channel," she said. "Malvern's talking." I didn't smile. I didn't need to. It was the first real shift in our direction, and it came exactly when it was supposed to. Later that day, Inez pulled up in her beat-up Subaru, handed me a folder, and pulled me into a hug that didn't ask questions. "Your granddad told me once," she said, "if anything ever smelled like Gordon, I was to back you up without blinking." I squeezed her shoulder and told her thank you. I meant it. That afternoon, I ironed a collared shirt, buttoned it to the top, and walked into the station to file a formal report. I didn't argue. I didn't vent. I gave them the facts and let the officer type it clean into the system. That night, I ran 2 miles without pace, just enough to hear myself breathe. The streetlights passed overhead in slow rhythm, and I thought about every apology I used to chase. I let that go. I didn't need sorry. I needed record. I needed truth. I needed it filed, notarized, time-stamped. I slept that night for 6 hours straight, boots by the bed, folder on the table, spine intact. Taryn filed in civil court 2 days later. Forgery, conversion, breach of fiduciary duty. She attached my military orders, the will, the forensic report, everything we'd stacked piece by piece. The language was surgical. No emotion, no adjectives. Just facts and law. She also sent a packet to the district attorney's office, Stella Coombs. "I'm not here to beg for charges," Taryn told me. 2 tracks, civil and criminal. Let them run their course." I nodded. I wasn't in this for revenge. I was in it for truth. If someone else wanted to bring heat, that was on them. The process server hit Gordon and Laurel's rental on a Sunday. I didn't have to ask how it went. 3 different relatives called me that afternoon. None offering support, just, "Did you really sue your parents?" And Gordon looked like a ghost. I heard he went pale as the porch rail and didn't speak for 2 hours. Rowan got his packet at Ridge and Vine. Taryn made sure the delivery happened during business hours. I know because the voicemail he left afterward started hard and ended hollow. "You're a disgrace," he said, voice sharp, cracking halfway through. "You're blowing up everything over one building. I didn't even—" Long pause. 1 deep breath. Then quieter. "I didn't think you'd actually go this far." Click. I saved it. The county paper ran a 3-sentence blurb under legal filings. Civil complaint filed regarding a disputed power of attorney used in a property transfer involving a local lodge. Alleged forgery under investigation. No names. Just enough for people to connect the dots. It's not like there were dozens of lodges changing hands around Lakeside. Taryn's examiner came back strong. 99-point-something% certainty it wasn't my signature on the POA. "The Z's hook is wrong," she said. "Yours snaps like a blade. This one loops soft." It was a small thing. It meant everything. Subpoenaed bank records showed escrow from the lodge sale transferred into Rowan's personal account the exact same day. From there, Taryn tracked payments to the sign company, a lighting vendor, a wine distributor, and a landlord in downtown Asheville. Every piece matched. Every dollar pointed back to the sale. Then the DA's office sent over a scanned letter from Malvern. I read it twice, then a third time slower. He admitted notarizing the POA without me present. No ID, no legal procedure. Long acquaintance with Gordon Pike, he wrote. I trusted his word and didn't require Zachary Turner's appearance. That letter went straight into the case file and straight into the hands of Stella Coombs. She didn't make any announcements, but her office started pulling bank documents and phone logs within the week. I asked Taryn what happened to the Barlows, the couple who bought the lodge. She said they were clean. They're bona fide purchasers, she explained. No knowledge of the forgery. The property's theirs. Your restitution comes from the people who stole it from you, not the people who bought it right. I could live with that. Then Mom posted on her Facebook some vague, sharp-edged line about ungrateful children forgetting who raised them. I didn't respond. Didn't even open the comments. I had receipts to pull and black coffee to drink. That's where I live now. At 11:52 one night, Gordon called. I watched the screen ring out, then checked the voicemail. Just one sentence. Be reasonable, Zach. He didn't sound angry. He sounded tired. I saved it anyway. The hearing got scheduled for a Tuesday. Taryn circled the date on the wall calendar in her office and said, "We go in sharp. You wear the uniform." I looked at her. She didn't blink. "Let the court see exactly who you were when they took your house." I picked up my dry cleaning the next morning. Class A dress uniform, pressed, metals squared, bars polished. I shined my boots and set everything out like I used to before inspections. That night, I made copies of the case summary and tucked the folder into my messenger bag, labeled, tabbed, signed. Ready. The night before the hearing, my phone lit up with a number I hadn't saved but knew by heart. It was Rowan. "Come to Ridge and Vine after close," the message read. "Just you." I didn't reply. I just went. The shop was cold inside, that polished, curated kind of cold, meant to sell wine to couples with too much money and no real problems. The lights were dimmed. Bottles lined the shelves like trophies. I stood there waiting, hands in my jacket pockets, eyes on the reflection in the glass. Rowan came out from the back, head down. No blazer, no grin, no performance. He looked like he hadn't slept. He rubbed his wrist over and over like the motion would cover the truth up again. "Thanks for coming," he said. I didn't answer, just waited. He walked past the tasting counter and opened a door behind the register. "It's downstairs." The basement was plain, concrete floor, exposed pipes, metal shelves stocked with extra inventory. It smelled like dust and damp cardboard. He stopped near a utility table and turned around. "I didn't know what was real until it was too late," he said, voice low. "Gordon said it was temporary, that it had come back around." I crossed my arms. "And you believed him?" He looked down. "I wanted to." He pulled out his phone, swiped around, then turned the screen toward me. "This is the invoice for the sign, dated 2 weeks before the deed transfer. I didn't notice the timeline until later. I took a photo of the screen, order number, vendor, date, everything." Then he opened his voice memos and hit play. Gordon's voice came through, scratchy but clear. "Proceed. I'll paper it." I asked him to play it again. Then I took out my phone and recorded it with the state's one-party consent law in mind, just like Taryn had drilled into me. Rowan sat on the edge of a crate and let out a shaky breath. "I knew the money came from the sale," he said. "I knew it wasn't mine. I used it anyway." "You spent stolen money and built your name on top of it," I said. "What did you expect me to do?" "I didn't think you'd go this far." I let the silence stretch between us until he reached into a drawer and pulled out a folder. "Invoices," he said. "Suppliers, deposits, everything I've got." I took the folder, walked back upstairs without another word, and scanned every page from my truck. Sent the files to Taryn through our secure line at 1:13 a.m. When I stepped out of the cab, Rowan was at the shop door. "I'm sorry," he said. "I mean that." I looked at him square. "I'll hear you out after court, not before." Back at the apartment, I pulled out Inez's note, 0915212, and laid it on the table next to my uniform. I could see that day like it was yesterday. The beam, the sun through the shop window, Grandpa's hands guiding mine. We'd burned the date into that wood together, grinning like we'd signed it in ink. I laid out my shirt, polished my brass, made sure every ribbon sat where it was supposed to. I shined my boots till I could see the ceiling light in them. That's how I kept my hands from shaking. Ritual, order, control. I didn't sleep long, but I slept clean. Rowan's written addendum would come later, part of his post-hearing statement. He admitted Gordon had coached him, told him exactly what to say. Family first. Strategic asset. We're protecting what's ours. All lines rehearsed like a script, but it unraveled in that basement. He couldn't say it out loud when he was standing in the wreckage. Dawn broke slow, pale and cold through the blinds. I sat with coffee and didn't touch it. Didn't need to. I felt something I hadn't felt since the desert. Steady. I walked into that courtroom in my Class A dress uniform, collar tight, shoes mirror-shined. The morning was crisp, and I could hear the flagpole ropes outside clinking metal on metal. Taryn stood next to me, blazer sharp, file folders stacked like bricks. Judge Petra Whitfield called the session to order exactly on the dot. No fluff, no patience. She looked like someone who'd handled worse than family lawsuits and didn't flinch easy. I sat beside Taryn at the plaintiff's table, hands flat on my thighs. My uniform did the talking until I was told otherwise. Taryn opened clean. No speeches, no theatrics. Your Honor, she said, this is a matter of willful forgery, unlawful conversion, and breach of fiduciary duty. The sale took place while my client was under federal deployment. We don't cite the SCRA as a direct claim, but as critical context. She handed up the will, signed, witnessed, properly filed. Then the POA paperwork, forged and notarized, without me ever setting foot in that office. Next came my deployment orders. Date, location, official seal. They placed me 6,000 miles away when my name was signed on a dotted line. The forensic examiner took the stand and walked through her report. Side-by-side comparisons of my signature from military forms, tax returns, even an old bank card. The hook in the Z, she said, tapping the monitor, is a dead giveaway. His always cuts hard. This one loops and lacks pressure consistency. Then came the county registry page. Property sold for $600,000. Same day, escrow funds landed in Rowan Turner's personal account. Taryn walked the court through where the money went next. Your Honor, she said, holding up a receipt. This vendor was paid for lighting fixtures 2 days after the deposit. This wine distributor was paid 4 days later. The custom signage, ordered 2 weeks before the sale. All directly traceable to the sale proceeds. Rowan sat across from me at the defense table. He kept his head down. I watched him avoid every eye in the room like it burned to look up. Taryn pulled up the social post he made during Ridge and Vine's opening week. Big smile, ribbon cutting, caption, "Our whole family made this happen." She pointed out the date. 2 weeks after the forged POA was executed, she said, "This was not an accident." Then she submitted the supplier order photo I'd taken in the basement. Clear timestamp. Early planning. Proof he knew. Inez Calloway took the stand next. She wore a soft blue cardigan buttoned up tight, hair brushed straight back. She didn't falter once. "Alden told me directly," she said. He said, "It's for Zach, not the family pool." He said it more than once. She pulled out the 2 notes he'd given her. Taryn slid them into evidence. One with the date, 0915-2012, and one with workshop wall. Taryn circled the line and held it up. "Your Honor, these were failed delivery attempts," she said. "Intent was blocked. Deliberately. Defense tried their angle. Elder confusion, verbal permission, misunderstood family dynamics." Whitfield didn't blink. She asked, "Do you have any written authorization contradicting the will?" Silence. "Any appearance from the plaintiff on file with the notary?" More silence. Malvern didn't show up, but Whitfield read aloud the DA's statement entered into record. It confirmed Malvern admitted notarizing the POA without ID or appearance, based solely on long acquaintance with Gordon Pike. He'd known the name, not the hand. The judge leaned back, hands folded. Her ruling was clear. The power of attorney was fraudulently executed. The will stands. The sale remains valid as it involved bona fide third-party purchasers acting without knowledge of the fraud. Then she looked straight at Gordon and Rowan. "This court orders restitution of $600,000 to the plaintiff, Zachary J. Turner, plus an additional $120,000 in damages and legal fees, as allowed by state law." She turned to the clerk. "Forward full findings to District Attorney Coombs' office for further review." Gordon didn't move. Shoulders sagged like sandbags. Laurel sat still, face tight. Eyes locked on me like I was the one who'd betrayed them. Rowan glanced up once. I looked right at him and gave one nod. Not approval, not revenge, just acknowledgement. You did it. You sat in it. Outside, the October air hit sharp and clean. Inez came up first and shook my hand, strong grip, no tears. Taryn stepped beside me and zipped her folder closed. We're not done, she said, but we're through the worst. I looked at the courthouse steps, then past them. The next part had already started. The Barlows were kind people, late 60s, retired school teachers, married 40-some years. They didn't owe me anything, but when Taryn reached out about Stone Hollow's workshop, they said yes without hesitation. I showed up that Saturday morning with 2 large coffees and a box of cinnamon rolls. Mr. Barlow answered the door in a denim jacket and shook my hand like he'd known me a while. We know what that place meant to your family, he said. Take whatever time you need. The workshop looked smaller than I remembered, but the bones were still there, solid, straight, familiar. Dust danced in the beam of sunlight cutting through a side window. I walked past the pegboard, where Grandpa used to hang everything from duct tape to chisels. Behind it, near the corner where we'd once hung a calendar with a black Labrador on it, I knocked. The panel gave just a little, enough to hear the sound shift. I pried gently with a flathead screwdriver and the board slid back, revealing a metal safe wedged into the framing. The paint around the edges had hardened, but I chipped it loose with my pocket knife. The keypad blinked. I typed 09152012. The bolt turned like it had been waiting on me all this time. Inside was a manila envelope, a folded letter, and a notarized codicil stamped and dated exactly 1 year before Grandpa passed. The letter was handwritten, neat, no corrections. If you're reading this, I'm not around. I was right to trust your hands. What I couldn't protect while breathing, I protected this way. Use it for something good. Don't argue with ghosts. The codicil laid it all out. Grandpa had opened a separate credit union account and placed a sizable deposit there, marked solely in my name. No co-signers, no trustees, no access by Gordon or anyone else. It was clean, legal, and mine. I left the workshop, shook Mr. Barlow's hand again, and thanked them until I ran out of words. Then I drove straight to the branch listed on the codicil. Small place, 2 tellers, quiet lobby. I walked in and asked for the manager. We sat at her desk, and I laid out my ID, the will, the codicil, and Grandpa's letter. She didn't ask any questions once the notary seal and date were verified. Just nodded and tapped at her keyboard. It's there, she said. Intact. Nothing touched. I called Inez from the parking lot. The code worked, I said. She laughed once, short, sharp, proud. Told you he was stubborn. That safe's been in the wall since Clinton was in office. Back at my apartment, I opened a new file titled Harbor Time Volunteers and drafted the paperwork to register it. The mission was simple: free wellness calls, community visits, and a hotline for isolated seniors, the kind of safety net Grandpa never had but helped others build. I funded the first round with restitution money and part of Grandpa's savings. The rest I left untouched for now. When it came time to figure out operations, I didn't evict Laurel from the rental they'd moved into after the case. Instead, I knocked on the door one evening and handed her a folder with a scheduled draft. I want you to coordinate volunteers, I said. You know how to manage calendars and people. It's a chance to do something good. She looked at me like she didn't believe it was real, but eventually nodded. I'll try. Trying turned into organizing. Organizing turned into consistency. I watched her shift, slow at first, then steady. She got firm with call lists, kind with strangers, patient with the people who didn't always remember why she was calling. That mattered. Taryn forwarded me the DA's letter once the Malvern case closed. His notary commission was permanently revoked. No charges, but the state bar opened a disciplinary inquiry. Gordon, on the other hand, negotiated a plea. Probation, financial penalty, and a full written admission of wrongdoing filed in the county clerk's office. I read every word. Then I archived the file and moved on. Rowan sent a text saying he was shutting down Ridge and Vine. Inventory sold, lease terminated, fixtures up for auction. His last message was short. Can we talk? I answered him the same way I did everything else now, with boundaries. After the first harbor time training, I wrote back, and nothing more. I'm telling this now as a man past 55 sitting on a porch that looks out on a smaller ridge and a second chance life. The boards under my feet creak a little in the cold, but they're solid. Every inch of them something I built or paid for clean. Back then, not long after court, Taryn and I grabbed coffee. We didn't say much. Walked the river path behind the old courthouse till the streetlights came on. Two people who'd carried weight and finally let some of it down. Months turned into a steady rhythm. One night, sitting at the kitchen table sorting harbor time intake forms, I slid the old workshop key across the table. "No speeches," I said. "You don't need one," she replied, and closed her hand over it like she already knew the answer. We married in a small church near Brevard. Inez sat in the front row in a blue dress that matched the hydrangeas. The Barlows sent flowers and a note that read, "May your home be as kind to you as Stone Hollow was to us." 2 years later, Taryn handed me 2 hospital bracelets and said, "Both boys, hope you're ready." I was. No sleep, all noise, and I never minded. I'd lived through silence that hurt. I'll take chaos any day. One Saturday, Rowan showed up with a worn shoebox full of family photos and a copy of his written statement from the case. "I was wrong," he said. He didn't ask for a pass, just owned it. I nodded. "I know." And I forgave him. Because I could. And because carrying that kind of weight forever would have poisoned everything else I'd built. Harbor time grew bigger than I ever planned. Senior check-ins, weekend drives, emergency lines. I walk in, and they just call me Zach now. My mother runs the schedule board with a clipboard and a pencil that never leaves her behind the ear spot. Some Saturdays I catch her laughing with one of the volunteers like she did when we were kids and life still fit in one kitchen. Gordon keeps to himself. His probation ended. The fines were paid. He mailed a short note once, one sentence. I thought I knew best. I read it twice, then filed it with the others. I wished him better and let that be the end of it. Sometimes I drive past Stone Hollow. The dogwoods the Barlows planted are in full bloom. The porch swing is back. I don't stop. I don't need to. Grandpa didn't leave me a building. He left me boundaries, and nobody signs my name for me anymore. Quick ask before you leave. What boundary do you need to draw today? If you have hype, tap it. Please subscribe and like. Comment good story or your take.